All right, welcome to Friday 15. Dave, Toby, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Doing fantastic.
We had
hmm
an exciting WWDC this past week on Monday. What did you enjoy the format of being remote and recorded, and a little bit of cheesy segues, but I think we were kind of expecting that.
Yeah, I actually loved it very much. I felt like the production has always been great with WWDC, but like this year it just felt more like refined. It felt really good. I think in the past maybe 5 years, this is my favorite so far. Both like the technical sessions and the actual keynote, it was pretty good. I love that.
Dave, did you get any chance to peek at it, or were you just browsing the website and hoping that we would bring a lot of the energy and knowledge today?
That's what I was hoping. I have watched and been to all previous WWDCs. So this was like the one year where I just kind of tuned out completely and waited for all the information to get released. It sounds like that was a mistake.
Yeah,
based on everything I'm hearing.
I think in years past you were probably fine because it was boring, and I don't know, there wasn't much going on in the last few years, and I got to be honest, I'm a bit of a pessimist when it comes to these announcements, and we have someone will be joining us today that can definitely concur with that. And but this year I was excited. There were some really, really great things. Toby, do you want to kick us off with what your favorite thing was that was announced?
It's a tie. It's a tie between two things.
Okay, first, so two things then. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I love sleep.
Yes, you do. It's well documented. You enjoy a solid nap and full rest in the evening. Go ahead.
It's good for you. It's good for you.
Sure.
There's like this wind down feature with the sleep tracking where like maybe an hour before you go to bed, like your phone kind of prepares you for like wind down. I thought that was pretty neat, and I look forward to using that. But also tied for first is like the AirPods like auto switching between devices. So when you go from iPhone to Mac OS, that has been a pain for me. So looking forward to that.
That honestly seems a little too good to be true. I'm optimistically pessimistic about it, but I think that maybe it will be a challenge.
Looks great on the demo.
Well, everything looks good on a solid demo. I do agree there. All right, Dave, did after perusing the website for 10 minutes before the show, did you have a favorite feature that you liked?
That's not all I did.
Okay, I'm actually 15 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
So I've been running the beta for a couple of days now, and I think you can actually see these widgets here on the middle mock-up. I'm really liking that because I probably have a few apps that I use regularly, and the rest was just space that I think makes sense to bring my calendar into view, or a full view of the days or week's weather or whatnot. So I've done that. I played with that a little bit, and I'm happy with that feature.
And so you've got beta installed on both your devices. I happen to have it as well. Remarkably smooth, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I'm a beta guy, and this is the first time where I'm feeling pretty good about making that decision.
Now, if you're tuning in and you're saying, I'm going to go install this beta, and then it wipes all the data on your phone and crashes it and bricks it, we don't recommend you install a beta on your phone. But out of all the betas in the past, I don't even know, 10 years, I mean, this is by far, not even close, by far the smoothest. I mean, my phone's not melting down. I can still use the internet. It's remarkable. Apps still open. My battery, it still lasts the same amount of time, maybe a little less, but not like, there's previous ones where you get a solid 2 hours out of a battery and they just burn up the entire phone. So that's encouraging. And yes, I agree. The widgets are great. The app library is wonderful. I'm not sold at it's supposed to like categorize all these apps. I'm not sold that that's working out great, but that's probably something that'll improve over time. But the widgets are great, and people are going to say, yeah, but Android had them for years and years, and that is true. And it was one of my favorite things about my Pixel. So it's nice to see iOS has them. All right, I'm going to give my favorite, absolute favorite, and then we're going to add two more guests today to talk about it. So, Dave, if you want to scroll down to app clips.
Oh, you get to pick the coolest one?
Toby, you had a chance. You went first.
I was saving it.
You could have
Where are
picked
they
it.
on?
I'd have come up with something else. Don't complain if you have the chance to go first. Okay. App clips. There it is. So this is really, really awesome. One of the things that we have almost consistently heard from clients is that it's sometimes difficult to build a mobile app, to prioritize the time and investment in a native mobile app, and then try to, get it discovered. It's in the App Store. It takes a lot of effort to open up the App Store, type it in, download it. And if it's a one-time use or a small task, that's just a really hard thing to justify the investment. So what Apple's done here, which is just, I think, really brilliant, is it takes a small piece of your app, a single focused piece. So let's say you're traveling and you get, they're showing the scooter here. So you go up to a scooter, you're in a different environment. You've never used the Spin app before, but you want to get a scooter and you don't want to go through the App Store and the hassle of registering all that. So now you can go up and you can tap your phone, or you can look at a QR code. It's a number of different ways, NFC, QR, messages, maps, and you can bring up what's called an app clip. It's less than 10 megs, downloads immediately. You don't have to have this app installed. You can use Apple Pay, and you can make that transaction on, with your day. And then you also have the option to download that app later on. It creates a little section in your app library to remind you that you have a clip, and maybe you should download the whole thing. So that pain point of discoverability is really gone with app clips. And if you can't tell, I'm really excited about that. So that out of the way, I'm bringing in our first guest. They don't know who's coming in first, but they're actually going to both come in and stay with us. But we're going to add Yuri in first. Yuri, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Welcome to the stream. And you have something very specific that was your absolute favorite thing, and I'll let you run with it.
Yeah, my favorite thing in WWDC 20 is the renewed focus on privacy. We saw that in the last WWDC 2019. But with this one, there's a lot more stuff that Apple has introduced to kind of protect the user's data, and also just make it safer for developers to develop and use information that's useful to them while not compromising user data as well. So there are various things that have been introduced. One, as you can see on the screen that you're on right now, is the recording indicator and also the privacy information on the App Store. The recording indicator is, especially cool because we already have that on the Mac or the MacBook for when your camera is recording you. That green light will show up, but we didn't have the equivalent on the iPhone. Now we do, and it works not only for the camera but for the microphone as well. So when either one is recording you, we'll see that recording indicator. Another thing is the privacy information on the App Store, and you can see those little facts. How some equate it to nutritional facts on food, where they make it very explicit what they're tracking and what data is linked to you. I think that's really cool for users, especially users who are concerned about privacy, not having to go into the privacy policy and read, blocks of legal text to try to decipher, what's being tracked and what information is used. So I just thought that was really cool. Other things are obviously, if you know anything about TikTok, you've probably heard about the stuff that they have been caught in as far as the pasteboard transparency. So every time you open the app and you go to the comments or something, they're constantly reading your pasteboard. iOS 14 has made that very explicit. So now if you open up that app and they're reading from your pasteboard, it'll show how many times they're doing it and when they're doing it as well. And then there are also more developer-focused things or back-end type things that are not user-facing. That's pretty important as well. One thing that stands out to me is advertising attribution. We know that a lot of apps rely on, as far as advertising goes, rely on attribution to know about which ad campaigns work and what they want to invest more resources in. Previously, you would have to, or one way of doing this would be associating a user ID with a conversion on an ad campaign ID. which inherently associates user data to ad campaigns and knowing what's effective and what's not. Apple has introduced something called the SK Ad Network, which kind of obfuscates that so that we don't have to inherently associate user data with ad data in order to know what's effective as far as ad campaigns are. And then there's also other things that are a bit more user-facing, like restricted user data sharing. So now, for example, if you have to share your location with an app, it no longer has to be extremely specific, like a precise location. Now you have something called the approximate location. So when apps need, your approximate location, you can just share that with them instead of them, having access to exactly where you are, like your exact coordinates. Other things are like the limited photos library. So if you need to share photos with an app, right now, they might have access to all of your photos, which you might not want. With the limited photos library, you're able to select which photos you want to share with an app. Once that's available, I think in iOS 14. And so then it limits, how much access the app has. And then you also have contacts for apps that need access to your contacts. Instead of giving them access to your contacts, now I think the alternative is to have suggestions in like the keyboard, like the QuickType keyboard. So they have like an email field where you can add emails for people you want to contact. You can just like type a name and it'll give you suggestions instead of having to give the app access to all of your contacts. And then there's also like the Safari features as well with the tracking detection and also knowing when your password has been compromised in a data breach. So there's lots of stuff.
I love that in a world of rushing out features and trying to go feature to feature with, Apple versus Google. I love that Apple has really focused in on privacy. That has become a feature for them, right? And and in a lot of ways, that's become kind of the culture of Apple, if you will, right now. They're very, very much focused on privacy, and I think that in a lot of ways separates them, which is really. I think it's great because this was probably the most privacy announcements that that we've probably ever had out of WWDC, and I love that they even liken the privacy information on the App Store, the ability to see that to nutritional facts on a box of cereal or something. I think that's a really great way to explain that. Now, I am going to bring in one more person for the stream to get. His favorite. We'll leave you on here, Yuri. You can keep joining us, and Dave's leaving. But Jeff Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, we got a delay there for you, but that's okay. We'll catch up. All right. So, what is your favorite feature that came out?
So you already talked about some of my favorite features, app clips and widgets. But one thing that is equally exciting to me, it's kind of niche, is that on iPads, you can now use keyboard and mouse input for games. So I've been using the heck out of my Magic Keyboard for my iPad Pro. Yes. And now you can have something like a full-featured AAA game title, capture the mouse pointer, and do individual key presses to just bring any game to iPad. And I hope people do it.
Oh, wow.
I did not know they announced that. They kept that hidden. Awesome. Yeah, I just signed up for the Apple Arcade service the other day. I finally decided to do it, and I've been playing the Skate City game, which is pretty cool. But
awesome.
And I'm a big fan of the Magic Keyboard, so both interesting worlds are colliding now. That's really cool.
Yeah, they've been kind of inching up to it and like letting you have more control over the keyboard, and this is like that last step.
Hey, keyboard and mouse versus controller has been a raging debate in the PC world for years and years. Like, what does that mean for mobile here? Like, those players with a keyboard and mouse are at a huge advantage over whatever controls I think are more traditional.
Yeah, I've seen that before where I'll be playing a game, let's say like PUBG or something on my iPad. And I've got a 12.9 inch screen. I've got a game controller. I can do really precise input. And I'm playing against players who are on a tiny little iPod Touch. They can barely see. And I think game developers are going to have to start sorting people into games not by the device they're on, but by the control scheme they're using. So you can get everybody on an even playing field.
That's what they're doing in Call of Duty right now. So I
Mhm.
play that on PlayStation 4, and it's kind of neat because you can play any console now because it all hooks up through your Activision account, and you can also play, folks that are on a PC, and they do just that. They filter it. So those who are using a controller play against each other, and those who are using the keyboard. And I think you can modify that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the thing is with a keyboard and mouse, right? You're only more precise if you feel comfortable using it.
Mhm.
So I think it's different. If you're really good at using it, you're probably really great. But I try to use it, and I'm terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so that one, you're right. That was niche. I did not even know. Jeff, you're an EV driver. Are you excited about EV navigation? I know it's not here yet, right?
Yeah. So I think it all depends on two things. First, the data that they're using. How good is it? Because there are a lot of EV stations out there that are like attached to a car dealership and maybe aren't the best ones to use. And they're all kind of lumped in the same data that a lot of people are using. And the other thing is how much integration they have with the vehicle. So there are apps that you can get now. I really like A Better Route Planner. And it has a feature where you can plug in a dongle to your vehicle and get live data go into your phone to tell you that what your current charge is, how you're trending, because it's very conditional on weather. On my car, I drive a Bolt, and in the summer I get over 200 miles of charge, but in the winter here in Michigan I can get down to like 160 miles per charge because it's so dependent on temperature. And so having that live data actually lets you know if you're going to make it to your destination.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it performs because, like you said, data being a critical piece, and if anyone has used maps in the past couple of years, data is what is lacking from maps, right? Beautiful interface, working with a user experience is great, but if you try to find a location or a destination, it's always a little bit of a challenge, and never quite know where it's going to take you. So that'll be interesting to see if they are able to pull this off. I do like that they're, both with cycling directions and electric vehicle routing, they're very focused on specific areas first to try to get that correctly instead of rolling it out, which is really great.
Yeah, I did like their car features in general. In the keynote, they had where you could share like virtual keys. Of course, you have to buy a new car to have that, but I think it's like a very promising future for like car sharing, where you could just like give someone your key via iMessage and set restrictions. I don't know what kind of restrictions to what they can do, but I thought that was pretty neat.
Well, yeah, we've had, how many conversations have we had over the years with car manufacturers and people with ideas that are saying, "Oh, we got to have the key on the phone," and that we've all wanted that, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of legal hoops to jump through in order to make that happen. So I'm guessing this has been in the works for some time now. I think those NFC cards that come with some cars now, that was kind of like the precursor to let's see if the vehicle can get the technology figured out, and then we'll work on bringing that to a secured device. So, all right. Jeff, thoughts on Memoji? Do you care?
I still haven't been able to find an emoji hairstyle that quite matches what I have going on up here.
Okay.
But I do like them. My kids absolutely love popping them on FaceTime. They spend, I think, more time actually in the effects section of FaceTime than they do talking to people. But
yeah. My son's the same way. He doesn't have an emoji, but yeah, same thing. He's putting stickers on and drawing, and which is amazing because anyone who he talks to, none of them know that any of those features exist. So it's clearly targeted to a very specific audience of younger users, if you will.
There has to be an app that takes your photo and turns it to an emoji, right? There just has to be.
That needs to exist. I think this is an opportunity for a service because I never know like what head shape to use for me. And if somebody could take a bunch of photos of me and spit out emoji or like a Facebook avatar that looks as close to me as it could get, I would pay for that.
Oh,
Get on that,
okay.
somebody.
Toby, it seems like a
Royalty.
good use of LiDAR.
Yeah.
That that was on point. You had that in your pocket, man. That was pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's why we do this, Toby. You should absolutely build this app for Jeff. He's going to pay you, and it's going to be wonderful.
Please do.
All
We'll
right.
do. We'll discuss pricing. My people will reach out to your people, Jeff.
Careful, Jeff. He's a businessman. You gotta watch out for him.
I know I had the opportunity to join a sales call with Toby. He's good. He's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's wrap this up then. This is kind of going in a weird direction here. All right, Toby is wonderful. We all agree with that. But there are a lot of really great features. If you get a chance, go check it out. There are obviously some that we're really passionate about. There are also a lot more. Home has all new features. Translate's an amazing experience. I've noticed that Shortcuts has a lot more hooks and triggers it can use, which is really great. You can spend a lot of time in Shortcuts and come up with absolutely nothing. It's both the most wonderful and frustrating app in the history of apps. But I like it. CarPlay's got some updates. We'll see if those are interesting. Toby's looking forward to his AirPod Pros that he's going to eventually buy. And they didn't touch on augmented reality much, which I'm kind of not surprised. I'm guessing.
Oh, Dan, you missed it then.
What's that?
There was a huge announcement for augmented reality.
Oh, did I miss it?
And it has to do with Apple Maps, actually.
Oh.
So they have all this precise location-specific data from them driving around all these places. And when you're using AR features, they can download that specific data for where you are and then map your AR data to what they've scanned. And they can place your phone exactly like on a city street. Say like, oh, we know exactly where you are because we drove down the street, collected all this data, and now we see the same landmarks from your phone. So combining the LiDAR data that they're going to get, hopefully with new iPhones that have that in there, it's going to make AR really, really great.
Still got to use your phone though, right?
Well, for now, who knows? Maybe that's a good opportunity for
Toby's
some other
really Toby's really excited about the glasses. He has mentioned it no less than 32 times to me in the last month. So he's really excited about the glasses. What do you think is going to happen, Toby?
I feel that probably next year, but I also don't think it's going to be just AR only anymore. It's going to be probably AR plus VR. But that's just my gut. Yeah.
Oh, we can get into that heavily, but we're not going to today because I disagree. But I do think that the AR that will be a big advantage will be audio AR. I think that's a really thing that they are positioned to do really well, and we'll see if that happens. Okay. Last thing is, if you ever use Apple Notes, they got rid of that silly textured background, so it's usable again, and that's really great. And with the iPad, you can write on any text field, and it turns it into actual text. So I haven't tested that. Plus, you can write dates in Notes, and then your actual device will know that that's a date, and you have an option to click on it, add it to your calendar, or whatever you need to do. Anyways, they came out with a lot of really great features, so much so that we can't get through it all. Dave, anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, I think we covered a lot of stuff.
I did like your fast and furious scrolling that was taking place. I did have to turn away from the screen at one point. There was a lot going on.
Sorry if that made anybody sick.
No, that's okay. It's a good test. All right. Thanks for tuning in today. Make sure you go to our social channels, like us, follow us, subscribe. I think those are all the actions you can do. Maybe there's more. Bell icon, that's another one. We'll continue to put up more content. Labs Live is not until July 17th, I think. Don't quote me on that. We'll make sure that gets out there. And we'll talk to you next Friday for Friday 15, which it does sound like we might bring the brackets back. We're getting a lot of questions about when the brackets are coming back. And we promise we won't rig the brackets because we never actually did. There's just a lot of perception that Toby rigged it so that way Vanilla Ice Cream would win.
As it should.
All right. Well, that is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you all later.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.